Hello everyone, quick note before we begin. We've got a competition for you. Ooh. We have 10 codes to give away for Factotum 90 on Steam, which just so happens to be a game that I'm a voice actor in. Anyway, I'll tell you all the details about how to enter at the end of this podcast, so do make sure to stick around for that. For the time being, though, cue the kettle and on with the show.
Netrunner, Colt Express, Rainbow Six Siege, and Number 2s. This is Staying In. So I take it we're all gearing up for the new Magic release in how many days? 6?
Dan, before you came on, Sam was telling me that he's putting all his geeky stuff in his Google Calendar.
10. Yeah. So the new Magic release is in my Google Calendar. Friday, the 22nd.
Sam, do you share that Google Calendar with your significant other? I'm sure she's thrilled to bits that she gets reminders of the latest comics.
Batman All-Stars number 1 is out in a few weeks, and I better go and pick my Batman number 3 up on the 20th. No. It's kept very private. My geeky calendar, but it's important. I only started doing it once when I went to the comic book shop and they'd forgotten to put stuff in my box, which sounds ruder than it actually is, but that's kind of how it works. I guess you could say bin. Some people call them bins.
I don't understand what you're saying.
So, Dan, some people...
You're using a phrase that is completely alien to me.
Okay, well, I will explain it to you. That if you like a comic loads and loads and loads, then you can kindly ask your local comic book shop to put that comic aside for you, and then every time that comic comes out, they'll put that comic into your own little bin or box, so when you're ready...
Does it have your name on it?
With your name on it. So when you're ready to pick it up...
Sorry, Sam. In Dan's head, he's thinking of the drawers at school.
No, genuinely, that's what I'm thinking.
But genuinely, that's what some of them are like. I mean, mine's like a plastic folder.
Do you have to pay for this service, or is
No,
this just a friendly...
it's free. As long as I pick up the comics and pay for them. Then
okay, so there aren't kind of premium levels of kind of gold-plated drawers that you pay extra for?
I don't know.
You don't sit there looking kind of jealously over at what, I don't know, Ian McDonald has.
Fawning over your box.
I fail to see what benefits paying more for someone to put something somewhere aside for me later on to pay for it could have.
Because it's the way it looks. It's the prestige. It's so you can say, yes, that's my collection there. See the one that's gold trim with the lights? That's mine.
So it's like buying stuff in Rainbow Six Siege. It's just all skins and tags and...
Exactly.
Of no benefit to anyone.
It's quite a strange coincidence because the show that I was on last, Sam, you weren't on. We were talking about the game I have of IKEA where you find the product closest to your name. And yours actually was the Samlar, which is a plastic box with a lid.
Well, there we go.
To hold your comics. And
that's good because sometimes in IKEA you can buy a product but it doesn't come with the thing that the product actually needs to make it that product. Like sometimes you can buy a box but you have to buy the lid separately.
Or a clock with no hands.
Clock with no hands. Classic IKEA prank that.
Buying a mop without the mop handle.
Yeah, just the mop head. But that's quite a common thing. Yeah. I bought a box of my comics the other day, so now they've got a special box. And I ordered 2 empty deck building boxes for my Magic card collection. So I'm getting very organised. And I had to buy some new sleeves for the new Magic collection that's coming out on the 22nd. Because they've come up with a cunning plan, Dan. You'll love this.
Really, will I?
Yeah. Is that I've got card sleeves. I put my cards in to keep them protected. And they're all... is it opaque? Is opaque the right word where you can't see through something?
Yeah, opaque. Translucent ways you can see just about. Opaque is where you can't see it at all.
Yeah, so all of my card sleeves are opaque. But now Magic are doing something, which I think started with Shadows over Innistrad, where they print stuff on the backs of the cards. So now I've got to buy new card sleeves so that when I turn over the cards, you can see what's on the other side.
Can I just describe Dan's face in response to that? Because obviously this is an audio medium. And now, listeners may be thinking that Dan is just enamoured with this chat and utter of awe of it, but actually you couldn't be far wrong from it. Dan just had the look of, I want to say, discontent, mild boredom, and despair, I suppose.
You've been too kind.
But Dan, in the new Magic, right, they got this mechanic called Meld, where you get 2 cards, and they're their own...
Do they meld?
Their own... Yeah, you're ahead of me. And they're their own creatures on the front, and for a certain amount of mana, you can exile them, but when you bring them back from exile, right, these 2 different cards, you turn them over, and on the backs of each of these cards is 2 halves of one big card that's like a big, like, monster. You know, like in Resident Evil 4, when you shot someone, and then they suddenly started sprouting tentacles and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's that, but in Magic. It's going to be great, but I had to buy new card sleeves.
When you say in Magic, you mean basically imagination. This is a card game.
Yeah, no, but Chris, they're taking my imagination, right, and now they're bringing it in because we'll be physically making bigger cards and bigger monsters from those smaller ones.
I see.
Sam, but what you're doing now is you're comparing Magic, a game which I've quite regularly showed not much inclination to like.
Despite never having played it.
Yeah, not to play, to like. Inclination not to...
And you're making me compare it to what, having just very recently, and I'm talking last night, finished Uncharted 3, making me compare it to the least good part of Uncharted 3, where you shoot people and then when you kill them, they turn into fire demons and you have to kill them again.
I wasn't comparing it to Uncharted 3.
Yeah, but you've made me compare it to that.
Yeah,
yeah,
Sam.
but that's the worst bit of that.
Exactly.
But it's the best bit of Resident Evil 4.
There we go. Well, hang on, Sam. Me and you played a card game the other day that we thought, hang on, this is the way we'd get down into playing a card game. This is it.
And funnily enough, it's designed by the same guy who made Magic, which immediately has put Dan off. So we might as well give up.
Yeah. But do you want to talk about what that game was?
Yeah. Are we recording, by the way?
Yeah, I'm recording. Yeah,
I'm recording. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I better start.
I wasn't going to miss out on this gold.
Yeah, I'll tell Dan. Dan, we finally played Netrunner by Richard Garfield.
For listeners at home, Dan's expression hasn't changed.
So, what do you know about Netrunner, Dan?
I know that it comes in a large square box with a design which is kind of blue and green in kind of hue.
Yes.
The name of it is Netrunner.
Yeah, Android Netrunner, technically.
And it's a card-based game. And that you got it for your birthday.
I did get it for my birthday after having it... after wanting to play it for ages and ages and ages, because it's it's designed by Richard Garfield, so he tends to make good card games. He's got a bit of a history of doing that. Basically, to explain it, it's a 2-player card game, which is a bit of a shame, really, because unlike Magic, which is quite flexible and you can play 3-player games quite easily and 4-player and teams, Netrunner is really limited in that respect. Like, some people have made rules for multiple players, but then it really only works if you've got 4, because then you double up basically the factions that you can play. But the 2-player variant, or the 2-player how it's meant to be played, is one person takes on the role of a big city corporation, which was Kris. So that Kris was like this big city fat cat.
Big cheese.
They've got all the money, they've got all the resources, and they like bully their way around.
To be fair, when I think of Kris, I do think of big city fat cat. It was the obvious decision for you to make.
So Kris is like, what's a good corporation comparison? Nestle.
Microsoft.
Oh, right, Microsoft. Yeah, fair enough. So Kris is like Microsoft, coming in, bullying around everyone, telling everyone they've got to use Internet Explorer, but really they don't have to. And
you're a piece of work, Kris.
So what Kris has got to do is, as a corporation, he's got to build up his assets and agendas. If he builds them up to a certain amount, he can score those, and if he gets 7 points, he wins, and that's it. As simple as that. However, he's got to face up against me, the plucky young hacker. Oh yeah,
you're Apple.
I'm Apple, or the FBI, trying to hack into Apple's shit, and so basically, my job is to try and infiltrate these servers in which he's got these assets and agendas installed using my hacking programs. Because if I can get them, then I score those points and he doesn't, and the hackers win. And that's basically it.
I'd need to play it.
Yeah, I think genuinely.
But Chris, at least he wants to play this one.
Yeah, that's true.
To be fair, from that description, I'm not running out of the house to go and buy it. But that's because I think by the sounds of it, it's a game that really comes to life in a environment when you're playing against each other.
Yeah.
That's when it comes. Describing the rules, I don't think, by the sounds of it, does it service in the fact of that sounds fairly formulaic to kind of card game rules. However, I know of Netrunner, so I know its popularity, and games of that level of popularity usually aren't particularly formulaic, and so there is an element that kind of really kind of brings it to a higher level. And I think probably if I played it, I would really probably enjoy it quite a lot. Is it just 2-player, or is it can you expand it more?
As I explained in my opening blurb.
Yeah, I know you did, but I wasn't really listening because you were talking about Magic at the same time, and that I just got distracted and switched off.
Well, I'll force you to rewind and listen to it later.
Danny, you like the Winter Soldier? Sam can say a few passphrases to you, and it just kind of like activates you, or the opposite, deactivates you. We just say the word magic.
I think if I just say the word magic,
I'm not going to give Sam kind of Captain America levels of kudos. Maybe Paul McKenna. It could be Paul McKenna. He says the word, and I just sleep.
A conversation with Paul McKenna and Captain America in the same breath.
Sam is the Paul McKenna of staying in.
I think the other thing that you'll like about Netrunner, Dan, is that when you buy the box, which is quite expensive, I think it's about between £25 and £30. Inside the box, you get basically all the cards you'll ever need to play this game. And you get all these tokens and all these fancy other things that you can use to make the game come alive a bit more. But inside this box you get, I think it's 4 different versions of each, or 8 factions, so 4 corporations and 4 different hackers. And so if you bought the box, your box is exactly the same as my box, so you could learn what's in it and I learn what's in it, and so you know what kind of beats what and what you like to play with. So unlike Magic, where it's kind of a bit more circumspect and there's a lot of expansions and lots of things flying around, you buy the box, that's all you're ever going to need. There are expansions around that you can buy and play with that adapt certain ways to play, but really that box is it, which really, really makes it great, which is why I like it a lot.
I think what's appealing to me above something like Magic is by the sense of it, the element of narrative into the game.
Yeah.
And I always kind of if a game, regardless of if it's a board game, a card game, a video game, narrative will always draw me in, and that will always, if it has a good narrative, I'm completely sold. Whether it's a narrative that the game puts out in front of me or a narrative that I have to create myself. When that is easily done, so for example with Magic, there's no real narrative there. It's whatever the card throws up. I know obviously the strategy and all that stuff, and I'm not having a go, just there's not a lot of narrative that you can put into it. Whereas other games, so for example a game that I've played recently called Escape, I think it's Escape from Aliens in Outer Space. The idea of that game is you kind of play against each other, and you're secretly trying to catch each other on a spaceship between aliens and soldiers. It's literally just moving around a board, so there's no narrative. However, you will naturally, because of the nature of the game, put your own narrative into it, because you're running away from someone or you're chasing someone. And I think any kind of game that allows you to have a narrative, like this one sounds like it does, will immediately have me much more interested than something which is just kind of technique and kind of gameplay based, like Magic, which is just kind of playing cards and it's card A beats card B, unless you've got card C and that stuff. And I think that's what never got me really into Magic in the way that maybe Netrunner might.
I agree with you, Dan, because like I was the corporation and Sam was the hacker. So I had a different agenda to him. So it was all, for me, it was about meeting my targets, but protecting my servers. So I put up like a line of cards in front of me, and Sam has to work his way through those kind of firewalls that I create. But he doesn't know what they are, and he doesn't know what I'm protecting. It could be an elaborate bluff. So Sam has to choose what server he's trying to hack, and I have to try and keep him at bay. So it's really quite cool, and it's that kind of asymmetrical play. The fact that my layout of cards is different to his. That makes it a little bit more interesting, I think.
I mean, it sounds a little similar. Obviously, a different kind of genre of gaming, because obviously it wasn't card based, but similar to Lord of the Rings Confrontation.
Oh yeah.
In terms of playing kind of moving characters and characters being able to do different things, and also playing that bluff game, because you may be trying to move certain cards or certain pieces in a particular way to make the opposition think you're doing something that you're actually not, to kind of trick them into doing something. And that's what it kind of, there is, I think there's a lot more, by the sounds of it, a lot more subtlety and a lot more nuance into how you can play a game like Netrunner than many other types of card games.
You'll like it. The as I've already mentioned, one of the big problems is that it's only 2-player, and also because of that asymmetrical play, I think there's a big hurdle to overcome in terms of learning it. So before Kris came round to play it, I sent him the rules, and there's actually a really good video on YouTube which Fantasy Flight put together.
That's what I watched.
Which gives you kind of a brief overview of the play, because you need to know how both sides play the game. Mm-hmm. Because there are certain rules that govern the corporation, and there's different rules that govern how the runner plays, the hacker. So that's the biggest hurdle. Like, I've tried a few times to learn it with. To teach it to Percival, so me and him can play. And so it's just like, right, this is how the corporation plays, and then a certain amount of time later, but this is how the runner plays, and then this is how they interact together. And that's a bit of a hurdle that is a bit difficult to overcome. But what?
To be fair, I think that's one of the good things about, as you're saying there, is it Fantasy Flight?
Mm-hmm.
I think you called it, yeah. I think some of the videos you get on YouTube, I mean, you look at something like that, or you look at some like very popular, the tabletop series with
Season 4 is out soon. Actually, Season 4 is coming out soon.
Well, I didn't realise that, and I'm excited about that. With Will Wheaton, what I've always found is, if there's been a game that I've wanted to play, if they've done an episode on that, I will always watch, and like, if I want to get my wife to play or something like that, I'll always show her at least the opening of that, because they explain it so really well in terms of how these games dynamics work, and kind of not so much telling you every little detail, but knowing which details are important for you to get started, and knowing which parts you will pick up along the way. And I think videos like that are really, really good. I think in the recent years, when there has been kind of a move towards more board games, I think that's been kind of a really good kind of move in terms of audio, video kind of vlogging on YouTube, that it's not just unboxing videos now. You're actually getting real good detail. I mean, my friend and yours, kind of Duncan Malloy, who works with Osprey Games, some of the games that he's made that I've played, I've watched kind of games of his that he's been able to go in and do a video and explain exactly how the fundamentals of the game work. So you go in after like a 5-minute video, fully prepped. Yeah. And you don't have to worry about interpreting the rules yourself. They are telling you exactly this is how you do this, physically moving the pieces as well, which is great to make that, as you say, get that nice, quick and easy setup for the game, that you're not sitting there going, let me just check the instructions. Is that right? Is this right? How do you do this? It's all kind of done for you, which is really good.
Don't get me wrong, like Netrunner, me and Kris were still like, hang on, let me just check the rule on that, and are we doing this right?
Did you shuffle this deck, Sam?
But yeah, I agree with you, Dan. And let me tell you, as a man who's currently renovating his own house, instructional videos are currently my bag. I can thoroughly recommend B&Q's How to Hang Wallpaper as one of my favourites of most recent memory. A great instructional guide. Also, I watched with my girlfriend's dad about how to lay drainage pipes.
With director's commentary.
You're living just such a crazy life, Sam. You really are.
The outtakes are hilarious.
Tell you what, Dan, when you finally come to see my house, I can tell you all about where your poo goes.
Yay!
I've already had the tour.
Yeah. To be fair, I think I've seen over the past 6 months. I've just seen picture after picture of trenches being dug in your garden.
He sent me. Did you get the Snapchat of him just following, the underground sewage mains from the house out through the garden? There's a little bend, a sharp bend, and apparently, Dan, every time you put a bend of a certain angle, you have to put like an inspection thing.
Well, yeah, because if it blocks, it's not likely to block at the straight bit, so you put it at the bend, because if there is likely to be a blockage in the pipe, and that's where it's going to occur. So
you are listening to Staying In, the number one podcast.
But I tell you what, like when you've done that, when you physically, like, we had to dig down and find out where the main waste pipe is, so that's where we could cut in. Then we had to trace it all back. We had to dig up concrete in the extension of the house, and there comes a point where you're just like, why can't we make this transparent so everyone can see all the wonderful work that we've done? But
look, that's my poo.
Look, that's my. There it goes, off again.
Well, at the generation game.
Here's a cuddly toy.
And today's Dan has had sweet corn and pepperoni. So you guys know that I've got a geek calendar.
I'm aware.
Yeah.
You've mentioned it once or twice.
Yeah.
A geek calendar that you've not shared with your significant other.
Well, why would I? It's my calendar, Chris.
I don't know. Well, you can have a shared calendar. I think it's just it's an important part of a relationship. It's the important next. It is the most important next step, I would say. I can't think of anything else.
I think you're assuming that his significant other would want to share with the geek calendar.
Dan, we can't make that assumption.
I can.
Do you think Lisa really wants to know when Batman 3 is going to be out?
Even if just to avoid you around that time.
It's true. I do get extremely giddy. Today, for example, my geek calendar told me that Batman number 2 is out, as in the comic.
Not gone back to waste pipes.
Oh, that took a long time coming, but it got there, Chris. Just like your poo in my house. So I decided to go into town and get it, but I live a considerable way out of Manchester city centre. So today I've got a day off, so I decided to cycle the 13 miles into Manchester to go and pick up my comic.
Was this when you sent a Snapchat of you?
Another Snapchat.
You Snapchat. So I just looked at you Snapchatting while cycling. So I wasn't sure how you were holding the phone, but also you were cycling next to a canal. And
Yes.
it was one of those things of when it cuts out, I was like, the next thing you hear is man falls into canal while Snapchatting.
I'm not lying, Dan. I came close. Yeah, so I did cycle today, and I used satellite navigation for the first time while cycling. Because I wasn't sure how...
Gets onto the M62.
Well, that nearly happened as well, Chris. Because, right, so I had such a horrible time. Loaded up Google Maps to start with, got my headphones in, and even though that's illegal, I know that, but hey ho.
Is it illegal? I didn't know that.
Well, you're not allowed to listen to music or anything out while you're on the bike. So, I had my rebuttal ready for when a copper pulled me over. It's like, oh, you son, get those out of your ears. I'm navigating, mate. That's what I was going to say. And he'll be like...
Copper on a Segway or another bike.
But the thing is that for some reason, Google Maps was being very, very limited with the information. Not only when, but also what it was giving me. So I'd approach a roundabout.
Turn right!
That was it. I'd approach a roundabout and be like, it should have given me some information right back now, but I'm out in the country, so maybe it's a little bit slow. And I just thought, I'll get into the roundabout, because I know it's not the first turning, so maybe it's the second, and maybe it will, get into gear. And then...
How many laps did you do?
I got halfway round this one roundabout, and I just thought, this is ridiculous. Stopped, pulled my bike onto the pavement. As I was taking my phone out of my pocket, the lady went, take the third exit onto the roundabout towards the A572. I was like, you fucking...
You knew!
that happened far too many times.
Could have been worse.
So I decided to ditch Google Maps and I loaded up Apple Maps. And this is the brilliant thing about Apple Maps.
Is this where Apple Maps sends you to like Manchester in the US or something like that?
Yeah, finding the destination wasn't easy to start with, but once I did, load up Apple Maps. Now Apple Maps doesn't have a cycling function, which is crucial because really you want to be avoiding going the fastest route to a location, which will involve you on motorways and stuff. So I loaded it up and put it on its walking thing, thinking that, yeah, if it knows that I'm walking, it knows that I don't want to walk along a motorway, so it'll find me a relatively easy path to go on. It was giving me instructions, and I thought, oh, that's good. Yeah, now I know where I'm going now. Yeah, left here, right there. And then after about 5 minutes, it went, changing to driving mode. Because I was obviously travelling for it too fast, and it was going, fucking hell, this guy ain't walking. So then I just had to like turn it all off and try and find my way back, which was exciting.
Well, you've had a very exciting day, it seems. Much more exciting than mine was. I just went to work and came home.
Well, maybe, Dan, you should start cycling using an ineffective satellite navigation system your way home.
That's it. Keep selling it. Keep selling it.
Dan, do you have a bike?
No, I don't. I do not own a bicycle.
I was just thinking, because I've got my bike in Liverpool now. I was just wondering, when you come down, when we're going to go up Scarfield Pike, there's something we could go. We could be like, I don't know.
To be fair, I think
eco-friendly version of the Hells Angels.
I think, Chris, for our group, I'm not the person we should be worrying about in terms of getting a bike.
I will get Pete stabilisers or a tandem. We'll have him on the back.
Yeah, Pete has to have a tandem.
You can get Pete the bike that I had when I was a kid, and it was called the Airwolf.
A tricycle.
Oh, I had that one. I had that one with a big box on the front, which he played all these different crazy sounds, these laser sounds. Yeah, I had that.
We'll get him that. It was brilliant. I was like driving down my little street in like suburban Rugby, like going pew pew pew. Pew.
Ironically, that was more useful than his sat nav that he had today on his bike.
Oh god, it's just awful. But Batman number 2's all right, so I guess it was worth it.
I've actually bought some new walking boots.
Have you?
And I've actually, because I was working from home today, I was actually wearing them around the flat today to get used to them, to check if they're the right boots for me. So if not, I'll take them back. But they're quite nice boots, actually.
But if memory serves me correct, Chris, you live on a ground floor flat,
Yes.
which doesn't have an upstairs. So you're not really performing the one single action that you bought those boots for, which is climbing up stuff.
Are you suggesting I build some kind of assault course in my flat to really put the boots through their paces?
Or go to a step class at a gym?
Well, in theory, you'd still be getting some good training in just from walking. You don't have to be necessarily climbing. You'd still be getting good,
just to kind of get a feel.
just hiking. It can be as we found out when we climbed the mountain before, you never know. A mountain climb could involve a 6-mile hike on flat ground as well. So I need to be ready for all
just keep
opportunities.
things interesting.
Do you fully sock up, Chris?
I do actually. I'm a person who likes to wear 2 pairs of socks when I hike.
Okay.
Not just in general life.
Thin pair. No, not just.
I've worn two pairs during winter at times. Yeah.
Have you?
Feels good because you get extra cushioning in your feet. Then it feels really nice.
That's quite an image you've conjured up there, Dan. I'm just going to let that sink.
No,
in.
okay. Do you want to know what I used to do? What I used to do, and it was during winter, because I get cold. I'd wear 2 pairs of socks, but also
Not the only one,
I
Dan.
would wear sometimes underneath my work trousers, my pajama bottoms.
Oh my god!
I'd wear them. What was amazing though is because of that, you feel like you're in your pajamas all day. It's amazing.
And when you come home, whoop, off we go.
Exactly.
Pajama party.
Magic Mike. Can I just say, Dan, out of the 3 of us, you live the most southern out of us 3. Both me and Sam live in the north, and I've never ever had to do that. So how cold do you get? Are you a cold person? Do you have very poor circulation, Dan?
His surname is Frosty.
That's true. He's not like a Dickens character. Normative determinism.
I guarantee if you try it, you will feel what I felt. and it's great. Just walking around, and you can just feel like you're in your pajamas, and it's lovely. If you have extra socks on, your feet are all cushioned, so it's kind of like you're wearing like slipper socks. It's just perfect.
Do you know what I've done at work? I've actually got under my desk, it's from a student performance, they sold their piece after me. I've got strips of AstroTurf under my desk. It feels like grass. And I can take my shoes off.
They sold their piece?
Yeah, well, I bought it off them because they used it in a performance.
You were a mug, Chris.
And I've got these strips of AstroTurf underneath my desk, so I can take my shoes off and get that feeling, that, albeit plasticky, the feeling of grass beneath my feet. And that's actually quite relaxing. You know how he says in Die Hard, when you've done a flight, first thing you do is take your shoes off and just scrunch your toes up on the floor. Totally works. Totally works.
Works for what? What, all the flying that you're doing?
De-stresses me. Well, I'm on the 3rd floor, Sam, at work. And as you've already said, I live on the ground floor in my flat.
The first thing you do when you get on a flight is take your shoes off and scrunch your toes.
Get off a flight.
Oh.
Off a flight. But actually, if I'm on a long flight, though, I will take my shoes off.
Oh, yeah. That's why I'm confused. Unless it's like a 3 hour, anything more than, say, 3 hours, my shoes are coming off straight away.
Well, I don't know why you need to wear shoes. You're wearing 2 pairs of socks and probably can feel anything.
Exactly. I'm practically in my
you're like Hobbit feet.
I've got like a dressing gown underneath my shirt. I've got the whole shebang. I look like the Michelin Man.
Eye mask underneath your sunglasses.
Dan's there on the flight, normal clothed. Like he goes through one of those body scanner things at the airport, and they think, oh, that's a bit weird. Like they look at him and just like he looks like he's ready for bed on the body scanner, but no, we'll just let it go. Sits down in his seat. It's like 30 minutes later, bing! Everyone unbuckles her belt. And then he goes, he runs to the toilet, comes back like toothbrush in mouth, like sleeping cap on, little
towel draped over his arm. I bet you though, Sam.
with a little candle.
A little candle.
I bet Dan gets a bit of a thrill during the day, like he's a superhero. He's got his costume underneath his everyday clothes. At any moment, when trouble strikes. I got to the end of most of the DC TV universe, their recent seasons. So I got to the end of Flash season 2, Supergirl season 1, and Legends of Tomorrow season 1. I've not.
How was the Flash?
Oh, it was really good. It was the same quality.
I'm halfway through season 2.
I'm not going to spoil anything, Dan. I don't.
That's okay. I know.
No, I'm not going to spoil anything. But every series just feels like that. It's almost as if they think it's going to be their last, so they're just going to go out on a high. So every season they're just pushing it and pushing it more. And their 3rd season is actually going to be a kind of. They're actually going to be following loosely a very key Flash storyline from the DC Comics universe, which is very bold, really. And that's what I love about this series. It's almost the audacity of it. They just don't care, and they do it really well, and it's really lovely. And it's they're very faithful to the kind of the self-referentiality, I suppose. Like, for example, Barry's dad in The Flash played The Flash himself in the original TV series. There's a few characters from that original TV series that crop up in it as well, which is really nice. And it's the same in Supergirl. Clara's mum played Supergirl in the film. Her dad is Dean Cain, who played Superman in the Lois and Clark stories.
Oh, Dean.
Which is really nice. It's really lovely to have that. And like, even if you weren't really that nostalgic about that, it's just really lovely to see this kind of this reverence, I suppose, for these old incarnations of the characters, really. That's one thing that's quite nice. That's the one thing I love about the TV universe, with the possible exception of Arrow. It's very different to the DC film universe. It's got a heart, and it knows that it's silly.
Yeah,
but it's just complete.
But the Green Arrow isn't silly though. I think that's the thing. It's not as much of a comedic character like the Flash is.
Yeah,
I'm not saying the Flash doesn't have kind of obviously serious storylines, but naturally he's a much more light-hearted character than Green Arrow. Green Arrow is closer. Green Arrow is basically because they couldn't have a TV show of Batman.
Yeah, essentially.
So Green Arrow is the equivalent of Batman. It's the rich guy who goes abroad, trains to become a vigilante, comes back and protects his city.
But I wouldn't be surprised if that does happen in the future. That we do get Batman cropping up. He wouldn't have his own series, but because in the next season of Supergirl, Superman is going to be appearing.
I think from my experience of Arrow, they've always been quite clear that Batman may exist, but they've never actively kind of mentioned him. That could be for rights reasons. The closest they've got is, I think I don't think kind of anything more overtly than this, but Harley Quinn does make a cameo in an episode, and that's the closest thing that I've seen to kind of the real Batman.
And you get Ra's al Ghul, for example, and the League of Assassins. That's them literally trying to
shoehorn in more interesting things.
I mean, that's the thing. I think that very much is their attempt of doing Batman the series.
Deadshot was in it as well.
Yeah, exactly. Deadshot and Deathstroke.
Which one is he?
Is it Deadshot's the sniper. Deathstroke's the
evil masturbator.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a great
just lowering the tone.
There's a great scene in Superman American Alien involving Deathshot. What?
Deadshot and Deathstroke.
Deadshot. I think so. The one with the
Deathstroke.
Swords is Deathstroke.
All right, I get it because you
Deadshot is the shooter. Yeah. Deathstroke has the swords.
I get it now. I've got it in my head. That's what it'll be forever. Arrow I now got on with. It was far too serious. Took itself far too seriously, which I think, as we've seen with the DCU, film U, that is, if you take yourself too seriously, then it's just never going to work.
Arrow did have elements of kind of more lightheartedness as well. I think as you say, the DC Universe films, very, very gritty and kind of very serious. Whereas Arrow, the nature of Arrow, he lives in the dark. He lives at night. That's when he defends the city. The Flash can kind of be out anytime because no one can see him because he's so fast. So when you naturally have a character who can only really come out at night, that pushes your storylines to a darker nature because it doesn't make sense to have really wacky, light-hearted content when you're in a battle at midnight. But it would have jarred.
But the Flash also goes into some darker territories, like their current villain in the season 2 Zoom is quite a nasty piece of work. It's why DC Legends of Tomorrow is kind of the weird one, really, because they've basically handpicked, I suppose, some of the fringe characters from the television universe and put them all together in one series, which is a clever idea. And they basically become time travelers, so it's the most science fiction-y of the bunch. So each kind of different series has its own particular flavour, which is quite nice. And I think that's been rescheduled for a second season. They've all been picked up. Supergirl's now moved to CW, which is really lovely. So there'll be more crossovers between her and the Flash again, and hopefully Arrow and things. But I quite like I prefer the DC TV universe much more than the film universe, if I'm honest.
I mean, at the moment we've only had one DC film. Really, obviously we've had more in the past, but of their setup for the DCU, obviously Green Lantern was meant to be, but they've pretty much discarded that one and said, actually, that didn't count. That was just a practice go. That one didn't count. Yeah. Now we're starting it with Batman vs Superman. Admittedly, that didn't pay off either, but they've put their chips on the table now. They can't back out of that. So it's difficult to know, and I think they will have learnt a lot from that first film. So it's going to be interesting to judge how the next few, and I think Suicide Squad is going to be really important to kind of how the chips fall on that universe. Because I think that there's a lot riding on that one. If that one suffers the same way that Batman vs Superman did, then they could be in trouble. I don't think it will, because I think that there are just better people behind Suicide Squad.
Yeah, David Ayer's a very good director. While on the subject of the Justice League movie, Jeremy Irons has recently commented that the script for the Justice League movie is a lot more simpler, and I think a little bit more light-hearted, I would say.
Good. I think he said it was more linear,
less convoluted.
I love the fact that more characters. The script is simpler than a film that essentially was only meant to have 2 in it. The special edition's out soon, isn't it? 30 minutes of bonus footage.
But apparently, like it sounds very strange and paradoxical, but I might actually watch that.
I know, Chris. I'm going to get it. It's not in my geek calendar, but
no. But it's gonna. I think like one of the many problems of it was it was convoluted plot, and it was like looking at a very big but incomplete jigsaw. So that's the paradox, really. It felt too big and bloated, but there was bits missing from it, which made it even more infuriating. So it's still going to be big and bloated, but it's going to have all the pieces in play, hopefully, to make plot points a little bit more understandable and make character decisions a little bit more logical and cohesive. So I might watch that. Might look.
I think Batman vs Superman. Well, the DC, to kind of continue your analogy of jigsaws, was kind of like starting a jigsaw in the middle and trying to work it out from there. Whereas, kind of
you always start at the edge, Dan.
Exactly. So if you look at Marvel, they started on the edge. They created that foundation, and then they could fill it all in. DC just said, "Oh no, we need to get to the good stuff in the middle, and then we'll try and work our way. We'll figure it out afterwards."
What were the finished?
I was in a shop. I was in a shop the other day shopping for a 4-year-old, and I found a jigsaw doesn't have straight sides. It's like really hard to kind of like solve it because it doesn't have edges.
Well, how big a jigsaw is it? Because if it's like a 10-piece jigsaw, that's not too difficult.
No,
if it's a 1,000,
are you sure it wasn't a return,
yeah.
Chris? someone just like took all the edges out.
Yeah, it's meant to be like that.
And to be fair, Chris, it's only difficult if the edges aren't. They may not be kind of vertical or horizontal. As long as they're not kind of jigsaw shaped, then you know it's the edge.
There's still an edge.
If the jigsaw's a circle,
it's still got an edge.
You could still make that circle.
But the edges, Dan, are like the bumpy bits you get of a jigsaw. So it's like someone has like ripped it out of a jigsaw. If you see what I mean?
Exactly. So it's a return. We all know that recently I bought my first ever video game DLC.
Was this?
Go on.
DLC being downloadable content.
Yes, well done, Chris. You score 1 geek point.
No, Dan, that's my thing, Dan. No, you've got.
Was it Uncharted?
It was, Dan. So enamoured I was by that game, and I also got a £5 off voucher from Amazon because I pre-ordered. I bought the DLC, which hasn't been. Well, I think Naughty Dog have talked about it briefly, and they say that the single-player expansion will be substantial.
Okay, so it's not just kind of extra maps and multiplayer and skins and all that jazz. 2
multiplayer expansions and 1 single-player expansion.
There's a single-player expansion? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's not happened, actually. Am I right and correct? That's never happened for Uncharted before, has it?
Not for Uncharted.
They had it for Last of Us because they had Left Behind.
Yes. But is it in that same kind of vein?
Yes.
Wow.
It was the success of Left Behind that they decided to do it for Uncharted 4. So there will be extra story stuff.
And obviously I've not played the game, but will this be like a prequel in the same vein as The Last of Us, or will it be a continuation of this narrative setting? Or is that are we wandering into spoiler territory there?
I haven't played it either, so I'm going to jump in with my opinion. And I'd say I imagine it's more likely to be a prequel because that's a much easier thing. Because if you do something that's going to follow on, it's going to do nothing but be detrimental to the ending of the game. You put it as a prequel, it can exist entirely by itself. It's not reliant on the game.
I can't really say anything, can I?
No, you can't.
They could do it. They could do something after the main narrative.
Now you just want to maybe play the game.
Well, you should have played it already.
I'm surprised we haven't lost Dan now. He's got his shiny brand new copy of it. I'm surprised we haven't lost him. He's getting
I finished Uncharted 3, I think, for the 3rd time. I played it. I've played all 3 of them from the Nathan Drake collection. I finished number 3 last night, and I enjoyed the ending of it so much. The feeling of adrenaline and euphoria at the end of it, with a great kind of closing sequence and stuff like that. That I was like, now I need to play Uncharted 4. I can either wait and try and find like a great deal, but I just really want to play it right here, right now. So I went to Amazon Prime, next day delivery, and boom, it's now in my hand.
Oh my word. I'm still 10% of the way through Metal Gear Solid 5. Like Pete, we're currently playing that game, and that's not a little light, breezy, fluffy tile that you can just breeze through. So it's going to be a while before I get Uncharted 4.
I'm looking forward to playing Metal Gear, but I've decided I'm not going to play through Peace Walker now. I'm just going to watch the videos. I think like Sam, you did.
I can just lend you Metal Gear Solid 5, Dan. Hopefully I'll be done by the time.
Well, I've still got to play Ground Zeroes.
Okay.
Oh, because I want to play Ground Zeroes before Metal Gear Solid 5.
Have I got those? Did I borrow that off Pete?
So I've already got Ground Zeroes.
Oh, there you go. Well, you won't take you long to play that. You can play that in one go, Dan. But I'm actually enjoying it. There was a kind of a lull where I wasn't really taking to it, but I've now just engaged in a sniper battle that can rival possibly the End's sniper battle from Metal Gear Solid 3.
You do love a good snipe, don't you?
I do love a good snipe. Oh, my word. Just want a good snipe. It's the one thing that I'd love to see. I'm gutted that I haven't got it, but I can understand why I haven't got it, is in Siege. Because we've been playing Rainbow Six Siege collectively. When the four of us can get together to game, at the moment we're playing Rainbow Six Siege, which is basically we have our own squad and several missions.
What do we call ourselves?
I don't know.
Sad Apples.
The Sad Apples, that was it.
That's because of our esteemed colleague Peter Willington's inability to kind of
turn a phrase,
articulate the common phrase "sour grapes" in a previous show, and so basically you're a squad of soldiers with different skills, different weapons, and you have to essentially infiltrate, storm buildings that contain terrorists, and these terrorists might just be terrorists, and you've got to work your way through them, take them all out, or they may have a hostage, or bombs that need defusing. But it's quite nice for us to all be collectively together, and it is like it was when they showed the game last year. All of us can rappel up the side of buildings. We can see each other. We can get into position. One of us can deploy like a mobile kind of camera on wheels that can kind of scout ahead, and we can mark up enemy terrorists there, and then we can kind of collectively strategize.
The only thing that's missing from that initial E3 presentation is the professional chat that bunch of people had compared to the chat that we have, which genuinely is along the lines of, "Oh, he's there! No, he's what? You're going to bomber! No, Kris."
Who was covering me?
Yeah, it's that kind of thing. Siege is all right. It's okay.
It's a really good, because we like to play cooperative games. I think over time we've played lots over the years, and I think one of the reasons we got Siege is because we've had such good times in the past with Rainbow Six, Vegas, and Vegas 2.
Which is not as good as.
No, it's not as good as, but I think it does meet the requirements that we have for a really good cooperative game. It's tough. It's really tough, and it's brutal.
It's brutal going by yourself, and it's very tense when you're by yourself.
I find it very easy.
Really?
I'm playing it on hard now for any sort of challenge.
Something's happened to Sam. Me and him played the other day. It's like we're playing hard, Kris. Like, oh, do we have to, Sam? And yeah, Sam has just become one with this machine.
It's the only way I get enjoyment from it, because the whole idea for me is that when you're doing the terrorist hunt, it's meant to be tense. Like, you're meant to, be checking every single corner, using wheels a lot to mark enemies. But the fact is, like, I'm level 15 now, and I've been doing the terrorist hunts and all the kind of stuff on Recruit, is that the first level?
Yeah.
For so long, or on casual, or whatever it is, that I know the patterns of the guys, I know where they're going to be, I know where they hide, I know that purposefully their accuracy is down at a lower percentage, so that I've got time to, like, I can just stand there and reload a gun, I know I'm not going to get shot. Whereas on hard, they do the same amount of damage they do on Recruit, but their accuracy is bumped up to almost near perfect. So you've got to be so it brings in that element of, I just can't just wander around this house and clear it out. Like, I've got to check corners. And for me, that's a lot more fun. Yeah. Because I was playing with Kris, and Kris was like sending in wheels every 5 minutes. I was like, fuck this. I'm just barging my way through doors and popping off people.
Yeah, Dan, I rewatched Predator the other day, and I was looking at the squad that Arnold Schwarzenegger has assembled, and trying to find out, relating this to our Rainbow Six playing, which of them I would be. And it would be the guy who makes the jokes and wears the glasses, who's one of the first to go. And Sam would be Dutch.
Oh, brilliant.
Basically, in this scenario.
What does Predator still hold up?
Yeah, it's lovely. It's actually funny, I was listening to a podcast, an interview with Shane Black, talking about his latest film, The Nice Guys, which is a good film. You should check it out if you haven't already. And he was talking, because Shane Black was in Predator. Ironically, he was the guy who made the jokes and wore the glasses.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's in Predator. He had, and like he wrote his own jokes for it, because it was the only bit of levity in the whole film. But yeah, he was talking about how brutal the filming was in the jungle, and how basically how all the elements were against them. It's a really interesting film, actually.
Well, they're making a new sequel, aren't they? They're kind of.
Well, Shane Black is doing it, yeah.
Yeah, because he's kind of bringing it back. The idea being that he's taking it back to its roots, as opposed to where it kind of got to, where the Predator, especially after the Alien vs Predator films, the Predator especially was really kind of watered down, because he actually ended up becoming a kind of an ally of the kind of the soldiers, because the story demanded it, in order to have kind of soldiers versus aliens, with the Predators offering a helping hand.
And then there was Predators, which was ridiculous.
There's also, have you ever read the comic book Batman vs Predator?
No.
That's
I read Judge Dredd versus Predator.
Yeah, that's a classic. Yeah, it's nothing really to write home about, really, but it's just one of those interesting kind of concepts. If you just put these two particular characters together, what would happen?
Yeah, Predator's actually an interesting character in that respect, because you learn that the whole idea of the Predator was to fight like the best of the bunch, which for some reason in Predator 2 is Danny Glover. Like, Predator's there and he goes, right, my job here is, if I'm going to die, I'm going to be killed by the best of everyone here. And in the first Predator movie, it's Schwarzenegger. Yeah, you know, this guy, he's the best. He's got the muscles, he's got the brawn. And in the second one, it's Danny Glover.
He's too old for this shit.
Too old.
You got to think, if you're Danny Glover and you're like, okay, I've got this role, I'm replacing Arnold Schwarzenegger. They've clearly gone in a different direction, this film.
It's a comedy, a buddy movie. Oh, Predator, you're so messy.
Can you imagine being in the casting room, though? So, okay, unfortunately, the deal for Arnold has fallen through. But it's okay, I've got a plan.
Dolph Lundgren?
No,
Van Damme?
no. Chuck Norris? No. Glover?
Oh. Seagal? No? Glover.
No, Glover. Seriously, Glover.
Right, and what happens? Like, Glover gets killed by the Predator at the end, and like, that's how, no, he kills a Predator. What? Yeah, he finds their ship and then kills a Predator. Oh.
So he. Okay. Just wait. They're still waiting for the punchline.
Yeah. Brilliant. He's got such a good agent. Talking of that, they're making a new. Have you seen that they're making a Lethal Weapon TV series?
Yeah, I saw the trailer for it.
You sound really enthused.
Well, I've never watched a Lethal Weapon film. It's one of those weird things.
That's incredible. I think you'd like them. They're good.
I think I would. I like Shane Black. It's one of those things.
Did you see they'd made a TV show of Rush Hour?
Yes.
Rush Hour,
They just got cancelled after one series.
Did it star Chris Tucker? Because I imagine he's not got much else going on at the moment.
No, it literally just starred an Asian actor and a black actor.
Brilliant.
And that was it. And they just said, let's call it Rush Hour. It was not good. Not good at all.
That's strange, because Rush Hour were stellar films.
Yeah.
I never watched the Rush Hour films.
Have you never? Oh, Dan, you'd think
the first one's on like every Christmas, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. I think, Dan, you'd like Rush Hour. It was at the time that buddy movies was. It pretty much is the epitome of buddy movie. Rush Hour 2 is okay. Rush Hour 3 was god awful, but
I didn't even watch any past the first one, if I'm honest.
Well,
are they making another Bad Boys?
Ooh, that's been rumoured for a long time.
Have they made 3 Bad Boys?
Yes.
Or is it just 2?
No, it's just the 2, isn't it?
They made 3.
Did they?
I swear they made 3 Bad Boy movies. Bad Boys. Bad Boys 3. Oh, it's slated for 2017.
Yeah, so it's just Bad Boys 1 and 2.
So that's that's like 14 years since Bad Boys 2. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's 20 years since Independence Day.
Fair enough.
Gosh.
They've just brought out Independence Day Resurgence, which, to be fair, has an amazing tagline of, we've been preparing for 20 years, so have they.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good tagline.
It's not meant to be that good. But they're making another Beverly Hills Cop as well.
With Eddie Murphy, though?
Yeah, Eddie Murphy's on board.
Wowzers. All the hippest movie news here on Staying In.
Unbelievable.
Briefly, I want to say I brought up the fact I bought DLC for the first time for Uncharted. For any video game, and that was it, was Uncharted. But I've also been playing my first bit of board game DLC, which is like ELC. No.
Yeah.
What would you call it?
That's the early isn't that the early learning system?
EC, expansion content.
VGLC.
VGLC, what's that?
I said BG.
What's that? Board,
hang on, no. BGC.
BGC, board game
he's bought an
companion. BGE. There you go.
This is for Sam's birthday present. I spent ages buying him, and I got him a birthday present in the end. What did I get you, Sam?
Chris finally got me a birthday present. He got me Colt Express.
Was it the first present he got you? Because he has a habit of buying you numerous presents because you've either got them already or have played them in the past.
It was actually the second present he got me. The first one was a Star Labs mug from The Flash. And I was happy with that, Dan. So imagine my surprise when Colt Express turned up on my doorstep.
I actually forgot I'd bought him the mug.
Weirdly, it was from Amazon, and it was just wrapped in clear cellophane. It's really weird. I've never seen that from them before. But oh well. Got it here safe and well. And Colt Express is brilliant. Basically, it's a programmable board game played on a 3D train that you have to build yourself.
Set in the Wild West.
Set in the Wild West, and you get to move all the pieces around. It's really cool. But the expansion, which is called Stagecoach, and I think it's just called the Stagecoach
Horse
expansion.
and Stagecoach, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, Horse and Stagecoach adds horses and stagecoaches into it, and it's so much fun. We would have had more fun if three out of the 5 horses hadn't have died after the first round. But
when you say programmable board game, what do you mean by that?
Basically, it's you play Colt Express over a series of 5 rounds. Within each round, you get a card which tells you how many of your movement cards you play in that round. So you program what you want to do in that round. So everyone plays a card in their turn, and then at the end of the round, all of the cards get played sequentially, and the movements are played out in like a storyboard. Chris is right.
Okay.
So you program what you want to do.
So you don't know how it's going to play out until the end of the round.
That's the hilarious bit of it. You can try and plan it, but you can't predict certain things because sometimes you'll have to put your cards face down, so you don't know what everyone else has done. So you might not end up where you think you are, and sometimes that can be fortuitous. It might play to your advantage because you have to also decide when you want to shoot. And you don't know who you're going to necessarily be shooting because you don't know where they're going to be. It's really fun. It's really good fun. And stealing loot as well. And other people might punch you into the next cart, but there's the marshal there. And if you see the marshal, it sends you to the reef. So there's an element of strategy. There's also an element of luck. And it's really good fun.
But the expansion is... it's just great because I was listening to the Shut Up and Sit Down podcast, and they were right about this when they said that the problem with Colt Express as it is that you've got this wonderful 3D board to play it off. Basically, you got this wonderful 3D train that you make, but it's a very 2D game. But what the horses and the stagecoach do is that they add the 3D element to it, so you can jump off the train onto your horse and like gallop up to the train, and then jump onto the stagecoach and get a hostage. And the hostages are like in Burgle Brothers. You don't know what you're robbing till you rob it. So like you could pick up a dog. And the dog basically is a really awful companion. It's like the most expensive hostage that you can steal, but each time at the start of each round with the dog, like you pay a penalty for having the dog. So it's like almost you're having to take care of it, puts you at a disadvantage, even though it's worth a lot of money. And like there's other ones like you pick up a photographer, but the photographer means that you can't play any cards face down anymore because the idea is that he's taking photos of you all the time, so nothing that you do is ever hidden. It's a wonderful game, and the first expansion I bought for a board game has made me feel like I've started to look for other expansions for things. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's all really good. That was Staying In with myself, Sam Turner, Daniel Frost, and Dr. Kris Darby. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, Mixcloud, Acast, Spreaker, Stitcher, or wherever you prefer to get your podcasts. If you'd like, leave us a review too. We'd be really grateful. Visit stayingin.podbean.com for more information and links to the comics, games, movies and more. Everything we covered in this episode. And come find us on Twitter at stayinginpod. Thanks for listening.
So in Factotum 90, you control 2 walker robots and puzzle your way through 30 levels to restore power to a spaceship adrift in the cosmos, attempting to reactivate life support and solve the mystery of why power was lost in the first place. Factotum 90 is from friends of the show Tax Games. It's on Xbox One and Steam, and did I mention that I happen to be a voice actor in it? Anyway, we've been given 10 codes for the Steam version to give away, and all you need to do to be in with a chance of winning is follow us on Twitter at stayinginpod and retweet the competition post that we've got pinned to the top of our Twitter profile. Now, our Twitter profile is not massively popular at the moment, so you actually stand a really good chance of winning, so do get in there early. The competition ends 30th of July, and we'll contact winners via Twitter. Best of luck to everyone who enters, and thanks again to Tax Games for supplying the codes.